Leandro Paredes has done it again. Less than a month after the international incident at the World Cup final, this man is back home in Argentina proving that this type of reaction wasn't an isolated event. It's just who this guy is now, or apparently what he's been about. Quick recap because we all saw it. Argentina loses the World Cup final to Spain, and instead of taking the loss like an adult, Paredes decide the move is to grab people by the throat and throwing people to the ground. Cool, very normal, very mentally stable World Cup runner-up behavior. Now you would think that's rock bottom, right? Well, no. Since then, he's shoved a referee mid-match, lost his mind on an opponent in his own domestic league, and it's gotten so bad that his own countrymen are turning on him to the point where Boca needed actual riot police standing guard just so he could take a corner kick without getting pelted with garbage in his own country on his own team's turf. And aside from that, we're also going to be talking about the charges he's facing, the ban FIFA might drop on him, the loophole that could let him dodge the whole thing, and the history of this dude losing his mind on camera going back years, and why some people think this might actually be the end of his time in Europe. First, let's talk about what's happened since the final. 11 days after the final whistle in New Jersey, Boca Juniors are in Chile playing O'Higgins in the Copa Sudamericana. 69th minute, ref calls a foul, and Paredes, who is literally the team captain, the guy wearing the armband, the guy who's supposed to be keeping his team in check, storms up on the referee, a veteran Colombian official named Wilmar Roldan, and shoves his arm away in an altercation. And the ref does not take that shit lying down. He shoves him back, cards him, and threatens to send him off completely. So let that sink in. A World Cup finalist tried to get physical with the referee, and the referee won that exchange. And 3 days after that, Boca's playing Newell's Old Boys, and some guy's already on the ground from a foul. The foul has been called, and the guy is trying to get back up, and Paredes just fires the ball straight onto that dude's ass. Like, literally. And in that same match, and this is the detail that should honestly be the headline, Boca had to station actual riot police around Paredes just so he could jog over and take a corner kick without people throwing shit at him. This is all happening in his home country. And if you think this is just a rough couple of weeks or he's having a hard time coping with the loss, let's go back to 2022. World Cup quarterfinal, Argentina versus Netherlands. Paredes does 2 hard tackles before kicking the ball into the Dutch bench. The whole bench empties, total chaos, and Virgil, this 6'5" Dutchman, comes over and just checks him flat to the ground. And this was 4 years ago. Same type of move, same person unable to control his temper, just being an asshole. So no, the World Cup final wasn't a one-time thing. At this point, it's basically been a highlight reel. There are so many clips of this guy doing the same shit throughout the years. Now let's talk about the part that actually threatens his career. After the final, FIFA opened an investigation and charged Paredes with 3 separate counts of aggression. And under FIFA's own disciplinary code, violent conduct carries a minimum 3-match ban per count. So if we do the math here, he's looking at up to 9 matches. Basically an entire calendar year of international football gone over a fight that happened after the game was already over. And he's not the only one facing the music. Nahuel Molina is charged with 2 counts of assault for going after Rodri. Assistant coach Roberto Ayala, a grown adult who's supposed to be the responsible one on the bench, is charged for straight up punching Dani Olmo in the chest. Thiago's caught up in it too, and not to mention the whole banner about the Falklands and the racism happening in the stands. Yes, there are official open investigations for those as well. But this is the part that might actually piss you off. Paredes might walk away from all of it clean, and here's why. The referee's original report had him down for a red card. Then mysteriously, that red card just vanished from the official report. I actually have a video on that if you want to check it out. Long story short, FIFA's explanation was that there was an administrative error. Sure, whatever. But because he technically never got sent off, there's no automatic suspension, which means right now, today, he's fully eligible to suit up for Argentina in September like none of this ever happened. And even if FIFA does eventually drop a real ban on him, Paredes has already been hinting that he might just retire from international football entirely, which in the most punchable way possible is actually kind of genius, because if he's not playing for Argentina anymore, there's no games left to ban him from. It's like quitting your job the morning you're about to get fired. So here's a real question. How does a guy with this much video evidence of losing his shit keeps sailing through his career without a scratch. And honestly, it's because he's good at football. And that's the ugly, unfair truth of professional sports. A 91% pass completion in a World Cup final, controls the tempo, wins you games, and clubs and federations have a long, gross history of looking the other way on bad behavior as long as the guy's producing on the field. Talent buys patience. It doesn't buy it forever though, but it buys a lot of rope. And Paredes already left Europe back in July 2025, over a full year before any of this World Cup shit went down. Roma basically paid to get rid of him, letting him go for a release clause worth around 3.5 million euros, which in today's transfer market is basically pocket change. And he went home to Boca Juniors, where he's now signed through 2028. So this isn't really a will European clubs sign him now story, because the man isn't even on the market. But if he ever did want to go back, after all of this, good luck. What sporting director wants to walk into ownership and explain why they just handed a contract to a 32-year-old midfielder who comes with an active FIFA investigation and a guaranteed incident roughly once a month? That's not a signing, that's a liability with a decent left foot. And Leandro Paredes had every chance to be remembered as a World Cup winner, a guy who could have coasted home a legend after 2022, and instead he's spending his victory lap shoving referees and launching soccer balls onto people's butt cheeks and needing security detail just to take a corner kick in his own country. Now FIFA might ban him. Yes, he also might dodge the whole thing by retiring before they get the chance. Either way, the damage is already done. And to the world, this isn't a one bad night anymore. It's a definite pattern.